Hello, my name is Jijo, and today, me and Tor will be explaining this question. How do San Francisco Police Department detectives handle cold cases, and how has investigation methodology evolved with the budding use of advanced technology in policing? In 1969, the Zodiac Killer murdered a cab driver named Paul Stein in Presidio Heights. The Zodiac Killer was one of the most notorious serial killers in history, sadistically sending encrypted letters and messages to newspapers, mocking how they had no chance of ever finding out his identity, and that the police could never find him. In 1969, procedures involving these murders and forensic technology was highly limited. If these murders were committed in today's day and age, things might not have turned out the same.
A cold case, as defined by the SFPD, is a homicide that has been closed due to a lack of evidence or witnesses that is always able to be reopened with the introduction of new evidence. The mayor of SF encourages people to give tips through cash rewards ranging from $50,000 to $250,000. San Francisco, in particular, has always struggled with the amount of homicides happening in the city. As of 2021 and 2022, over 50 supposed homicides were called in and investigated by the SFPD. And the peak for homicides in SF happened in 1977 with 146 reported in 1 year.
This is according to SanFranciscoPolice.org. Police procedures regarding crime scenes for homicides have maintained relative homogeneity since back in the 90s. According to the paper by John M. Howell in 1999 regarding homicide investigations, the process is broken up into two parts. One outlining the responsibilities of the first officer at the scene and the responsibilities of the investigator that the cold case is brought to. Sergeant Moore of the SFPD will now explain this process and how it works for their department.
So typically, the way most of them come in, it's a cold report. The homicide's already happened. And then it's like a family member or a landlord or something will report it because no one's seen the person for a day or two. We'll go do what's called a well-being check. And when we get there, typically we'll try to get inside the house. Sometimes we have to use fire department to help us get in, and then we'll find the body. The initial officers that arrive on scene then will determine if it looks suspicious or not. So say they determine it is suspicious, then they'll get a supervisor out there who will also determine it is suspicious. At that point, then a homicide detective will come out. So we'll notify homicide, which is our homicide is an investigative unit that just deals with homicides. They will come out, and medics will come out in the medical examiner, which is like the coroner. They will come out as well, and they will also come to the same determination. The medics will pronounce the individual deceased, and then the medical examiner will agree that it is indeed likely to be a homicide. And at that point, the patrol officers will do what's called the initial report. And that initial report will just explain what brought them there, what they saw upon arrival, and that they determined it was. So homicide will then run with it, and we'll typically get CSI out, do all the CSI stuff as far as crime scene processing. The ME, after the homicide detective will take all their pictures, the ME, the medical examiner, will then take the body and do whatever they do to help determine the cause of death.
This process has remained fairly consistent throughout the years. It starts with officers on scene, they assess, find suspicion of a homicide, call in medics, and then the investigator takes over gathering evidence, finding DNA, etc. The main difference is how technology plays a role in finding the potential culprit. According to the DOJ, Department of Justice, during the times of peak homicide activity in San Francisco, back in the 70s and 80s, which was 10.2 homicides per 100,000 people, DNA profiling, criminal databases, and fingerprint technology were all rudimentary at best. In comparison to the newest technology, such as forensic genetic genealogy, which combines DNA analysis with traditional genealogical methods to identify individuals in criminal investigations and solve cold cases, it has already approved its efficacy with 545 cases solved with its use since December of 2022.
Some of the latest technology includes things like DNA fingerprinting in databases, drones, and forensic imaging using the VRT system. Advancements in DNA sequencing allow forensic scientists to identify subjects more accurately and efficiently than ever before, and cross-referencing them now with larger DNA databases available at police departments. It enables detectives to crack cold cases. Drones and 3D imaging provide law enforcement with detailed visuals that allow them to recreate crime scenes very accurately, as well as get surveillance around the crime scene as well. Lastly, VRT is used with CT scans and X-rays in order to create accurate 3D imaging of how a victim was hurt and how assailants potentially did it. This information is then relayed to medical experts and attorneys in order to cross out potential suspects and narrow it down.
This information comes from Autodesk, and while there isn't a specific number on how many cases have been solved with these tools, their impact is seen in the field of forensics.
Sergeant Moore also explained how the use of blood sequencing and AI flock cameras help in investigations.
So we have these things called flock cameras all throughout the city, which are very intelligent cameras where you can put in certain things, older model Toyota Corolla white in color, and all the flock cameras throughout the city well, then it will review all its footage that it's caught in that time period and capture all the white Toyota Corollas and send those videos to the inspector. And those cameras, then they're very good cameras, by the way. So you can typically see the driver, you can get the race and the sex of the driver, and many times you can pick up the license plate. From that, I can just speak for when I was in investigations, then you would run the plate, see who the plate comes back to. So prior to that, there's other avenues. So before we didn't have these SWAT cameras, right? So then now you're doing stuff, you're looking for like DNA. So if somebody, I'm just thinking back one of my cases, there was a broken window. So we're like, okay, that's probably how they got into the building, right? But when they broke the window, they cut themselves. So we found some blood droplets on the windowsill. So we collected those blood droplets, CSI did, I should say, and they run that to see who that blood belongs to. We don't have everybody's DNA in databases, but we do have criminals' DNA. So if you've been arrested for a felony in the past and you say you've done jail time, they collect your DNA and that will always be in the database.
The power of modern technology in cold cases can be seen in the case of Nancy Hernandez. As explained in the SF Chronicle, Nancy Hernandez was murdered in an alleyway in Chinatown in 1992, and without any incriminating evidence, the case has been closed for 30 years. Until, in 2023, using advanced DNA profiling techniques only made available with new tech, a DNA match was found with a man named Ricky Dawson, who is currently in prison in Denver for other charges, but an SF warrant has been out for his name. When it comes to the Zodiac killer as well, and as early as 2002, new DNA evidence was leaked to him. So if the officers had access to it during the original casing, I believe the killer would have been apprehended.
As we have explained, the methodology of the SFPD when it comes to cold cases has been very cut and dry since even the 1990s, and the way they've handled cold cases has been relatively similar throughout this time. The emergence of new technology has greatly impacted the efficiency that police officers have when it comes to finding suspects and linking them to the crime, leading to a safer and more complete community in the city we live in.
Also, we've learned how technology is becoming more and more integrated with every facet of life as its efficacy increases.